Even in the dead of winter, this is happening. Even in the dead of winter, this is happening. Dude, these fires are absolutely, like, batshit bonkers to me, right? Like, even right now, and here in the Midwest where I live, we are being hit hard by over 10 inches worth of snow, right? Record setting blizzard. But then you can have some place in the same continent that is still experiencing the same seasonal changes. Everything is on fucking fire, right? 5 people are dead now. Over 2,000 buildings are devastated, right? The Pacific Palisades are like absolutely just scorched right now. And it is mind-boggling. It is some of the craziest shit I've ever seen on social media, right? Like there are videos that I'm seeing like on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on TikTok of people like being in their homes and absolutely fucking surrounded by these blazes. I'm like, holy shit. What the fuck? Uh, like I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, right? Thinking about if I saw that shit outside of my floor to ceiling windows. Just like, I don't have any floor to ceiling windows, but like a lot of these videos you see that these people do. I'm like, how would I react to this, right? Would I just like fucking accept it? Where I'm like, yep, all right, here we go. This is how I die. This is how I die, right? Over 2,000 buildings and homes and all sorts of other stuff, right? Like, over here on my second monitor, there's Palisade, there's the Eaton, there's Hearst, there's Sunset, right? There's all of these different fires going on in LA. And the one thing that is coming to mind about all of this is that so much of this could have been preventable, right? I don't think that the wildfires aren't entirely preventable as an idea unless we had like a fucking global like ice age. But more on the fact that if we had taken steps to address climate crisis sooner, this sort of stuff may have been mitigated and it wouldn't have been as deadly as it is right now, right? Like, this is the shit that will be continuing to happen, right? I don't want to get on my soapbox and preach here, right? I never want to really, whenever I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I don't want to get on a soapbox and just preach. If I ever get on a soapbox, I want to like try and be as reasonable and as personable as I can, right? And especially whenever it comes to stuff like this, like we should all know that stuff like climate change is in effect right now, and it is only going to get worse, right? Next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, another Los Angeles. Ugh, fuck, why am I saying it so weird? LA fucking wildfires are going to get even worse, right? We're going to see worse shit down in Australia. We're going to see worse shit like fucking tornadoes in Tornado Alley. We're going to see drier and drier Great Plains with probably even fires out there. The winters are going to get colder and colder and colder. The summers are going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, right? And it's one of those things where whenever you hear about how, oh, it's just a 1 or 2 degrees increase in global temperature, this is what's happening. This is what's going to be causing it, right? So much loss of land, of life, of things like property for people's personal properties, and like just their everyday lives are going to be put at risk because of this stuff, right? And whenever I think about this, as harsh and as horrible as it is to see all of this happening, I still can't help but get it in my mind that stuff like this can be remedied, right? If one, there is proper infrastructure to better mitigate this damage, but two, if there was stuff in place to prevent it from happening at such a horrible degree in the first place, right? Things like pipelines, things like huge amounts of CO2 emission, right? You driving your cars is not what's going to be doing it, right? Like, yes, it is a part of it, right? We have to acknowledge that things like urbanization, and car culture and the likes is playing a factor into the tons of CO2 that is going into the atmosphere, right? Even if the ozone layer is starting to heal, we are still suffering immense amounts of damage from things like this, right? But the biggest thing is going to be things like businesses, and like corporations and the like that aren't aligning themselves with more green alternatives, because that's just their business model, right? It keeps the thing churning. It keeps the machine of capitalism churning, right? We rely on fossil fuels so much in this world. So much. And even if it is better for us in our lives, the short term profit gains of using things like fossil fuels are so much more profitable, but result in things like this, right? Millions of tons of CO2 being put into the air, right? Then you have things like smog in cities, and you start seeing things like this with wildlife. Then you start to see things like pipelines bursting, and then how much it's affecting the ecosystem. And then there's things like the natural beauty of our world just being absolutely scorched, and that in ways that aren't natural because of shit like this. And I think I have to say that, yes, as much as I feel bad for all of the everyone that is being harmed by the Palisade fires and everything, right? This is also just another one of those wake up calls that, shit, better that we fucking have it and more people become aware of it than having it not happen, and then 10 years down the line there's an even greater fire that happens, right? There's something even worse that happens down the line, right? Oh, we had an oil spill because of a cracked line, and 10 square kilometers around is being affected by oil. Okay, good. It's better that that is affected in that way, as better as it would be for it to not have happened at fucking all, than for it to have happened way down the line and then have it be even worse. If we take the action now, the direct action now, to prevent it in the future. Because that's what we need. We need prevention. We need change. Things like reform is not going to work, right? We cannot vote in things like this. ExxonMobil will just lobby it out. Things like anything in the automotive industry, as even if people want to start buying more electric cars, the infrastructure is still there that benefits off of things like emission, right? Things like factory emissions as well, because they're able to start building them in certain areas that are vulnerable, right? And need of protection, because there isn't any oversight. And oversight is only one patch to fixing these issues. And I gotta say it. I have to say it. If we want these issues to be stopped in its entirety, the perpetrators that are causing them in the first place need to be gotten rid of. But yeah, that's those are my thoughts on it, right? I wanted to wait a day or two after everything. I know that maybe I could be a little bit more timely, a little bit more trendy if I talked about it right away. But one thing I like to do is I like to wait a few days in terms of news to talk about it, just so that like more stuff comes out and I'm not making more videos over and over on the same topic. I mean, I might eventually end up doing that so that I can start getting more of my opinion out there. But when it comes to certain topics, I feel like, at least right now where I'm at, I feel like I don't need to do that, because I can talk about some other things and let the stories develop before making a longer video such as this. But if you want to support me, I have a Patreon down below. Thank you, and keep an eye out if you're in LA, right? Anyone that needs help, help your fellow communities, right? If people need shelter, have them hole up with you, right? If they need water, if they need food, if they need anything, lend a helping hand if you can. I'll talk to you guys next time. Click.